Welcome to CPG Vibes. No scripts,
just chat.
I'm Alex Baer.
And I'm Wade Yenny.
Each episode is recorded live, and we talk all things food and beverage, and so much more.
Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review.
If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com.
Now, let's vibe.
All right, welcome to episode 161 of CPG Vibes. This is the special edition All Canada show. It's been much anticipated. We worked really hard on it. Robert Cogan, our sponsor and partner, he's worked really hard on it. So here we are. But before getting into that and bringing our guests on, Wade, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing good. I feel like we should have the Canadian national anthem playing to start the show instead of normal music.
Oh, Canada. You know, I wish I knew the lyrics for like every single word, but I don't, to be honest. But I know how it starts and I know how it ends.
Nicely done.
Do you know the song like by heart all the way through?
No, I do not.
You're being honest.
I am being honest. I know some of the song, but not all of it.
Yeah, same here. It's a great, beautiful song, though.
It is.
So we got to learn it. So we're going to be bringing on, in no particular order. Now there's going to be kind of a structure to this, and so the way that we're going to do it is we're first going to bring on two individuals from CHFA, which is Sonia Parmar and Jules Gorham. And so they're with CHFA, which is the Canadian Health Food Association, Canada's largest trade association dedicated to all things natural, organic, and wellness. And then that's going to be for the first half of the show. And then the second half of the show is going to be Megan Silk, co-founder of GingerBug, a Canadian brand, and Steve Dontigny, and he is the owner and founder of The Forge CPG. And they do a lot of cool stuff with emerging CPG brands. So we're going to bring them on the second half of the show, CHFA the first half of the show, and also last but not least, Robert Cogan with Powerful Energy Distribution. He's going to be coming on for the entire show. So we're going to bring him on with our first set of guests. Before getting to that, we're just going to go through some laundry list items here as we always do. So the first thing is we're the number one rated CPG podcast in the world. Make sure to keep us that way. Go to Apple Podcast, click 5 stars, give us a positive rating. We need to stay number one. We're in the heat of the running right now. So please go on Apple Podcast or Spotify and give us 5 stars. We also have our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@CPGVibes. And you can, right after the show is over, right literally after we click end, Wade is uploading it. And we're also uploading it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So it's immediately available on your listening platform of choice. We have our backwall sponsors, which is, we have a few. We have Feel Free, the Kava Kratom Wellness Shot. We have Melting Forest. So thank you, Melting Forest, for sponsoring. And then we have Dream Makers, which is an accelerator that is run by Jeff Church. So thank you to our backwall sponsors. And then this week's sponsor, which is Powerful Energy. You're going to be hearing that name a lot today. Powerful Energy Distribution with Robert Cogan. And a little bit about them. And thank you, Robert, for sponsoring several episodes on the sponsor block. Powerful Energy, PFE, is a bi-national company that handles imports, exports for commodity brands and emerging specialty brands. PFE's expertise is eliminating the real and invisible barriers to the 40 million Canadian market, starting with the 8 million Ontario market next door. So thank you, Robert Cogan, Powerful Energy Distribution. If you're looking to get your product into Canada, make sure to reach out to them. I think via LinkedIn is always the easiest way to do that. And we also have our ongoing sponsor, which is Shelf Made. So Shelf Made has free and paid membership options. Calling all food and beverage founders, whether you're just getting started or scaling fast, Shelf Made is your go-to resource to launch and grow your brand smarter. Join for free. Go to shelfmadecpg.com. Make sure to mention CPG Vibes in the comment field. And then also, if you'd like to join and be a paying member, you get extra, you get some bonus perks. You get full access to their premium self-paced courses, webinars, weekly expert strategy calls, member directories, live coaching, retail calendars, replays, and a lot more. It's a very rich library of many resources for any CPG founder or anyone in the CPG industry for that matter. And if you'd like to go to their paid subscription, shelfmadecpg.com. And as a listener of CPG Vibes, you get $100 off your membership, whether you go full year or quarterly. Again, Shelfmade, SHELFMADE, CPG.com, and use code CPG Vibes. All right. And then just wanted to quickly mention what's going on next week. Next week is it's basically just us, but it is going to be at a different time, Wade. Isn't that right?
Yep, 1 o'clock, right?
I think 1 o'clock. Now that is Eastern time, so it's going to be, checking my calendar here to make sure, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, 1 p.m. Eastern. I have another obligation at noon for the family, so I cannot do it at noon. So we're moving it up by 2 hours. Next Friday, April 18th. And our sponsor for that episode is Caroline Brain with Kif & Co. That is her last name, Brain. She's very smart. So for good reason. I think we can get to it, right? I'm not forgetting anything.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So first off, as mentioned, and again, this is the All Canada show. So everyone on here is either with a Canadian organization or is a Canadian brand or a Canadian company, and they're based in Canada. So we're going to bring on first Sonia Parmar, VP of Regulatory Affairs and Government Relations for CHFA, and Jules Gorham, the director of Regulatory Affairs and Policy for the CHFA, and then Robert Cogan with Powerful Energy Distribution. How's everyone doing?
Welcome.
Great.
Welcome.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Yes, we're happy to have you. Just trying to find the best format here so that we can see everyone.
That's cool how you can do that. That's really cool.
StreamYard's a really shitty software, but it is known for a couple good things, and that is one of the things where you can blow up, the pictures on people. So sorry, StreamYard, we love you, but you need to work more and do better. All right, so
I was impressed up until now, but yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah, we're hard on them. We're hard on them. You know why? Because we're still reeling from last week when our show crashed.
Oh,
our show crashed. We were like 2 minutes in.
It's not cool.
It crashed, and we had to
do
restart
better,
it.
StreamYard.
New link. So again, we're
Alex,
only with them.
after the crash, what happened?
So what we had to do is we had to restart a new event.
But it came back alive.
So,
but was everybody still connected? Like it's hard to get people kind of.
Yeah, we had to re-invite the people from the old event to the new one, and we had the same. Event. And we got actually more viewers on the new one, so we got people's attention from the crash, and it worked out. So it all worked
Way to go, viewers! That's commitment. I love that.
That is commitment. They migrated right over. All right, so let's get to it. So we're going to do intros. We have a little tradition on this show. We're going to start in the upper right corner, and we will start with Sonia with CHFA. And we're going to do a couple things. You're going to introduce yourself, who you're with, which we already know, but more specific about what you do with CHFA. And then one thing that most people do not know about you. So Sonia, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. I'm stumped at what people don't know. This is going to be an interesting intro, but I work with the Canadian Health Food Association, as you mentioned, and Jules and I have been a very solid partnership on the Save Our Supplements campaign. So we've been working to make sure that government doesn't overregulate natural health products, which are dietary supplements in the USA. So I'm super excited to be here and very excited to share the story behind the campaign. It's a #1 campaign on Parliament Hill. And I would say one thing that most people don't know about me is that I don't like reading very much.
Not like reading an actual book or just reading in general?
Yeah. I'm one of those people that starts a book, I can get halfway through and I don't like reading. I have to admit, it's a random fact, but I don't like
You brought
reading.
2 books to our Washington trip.
I bring them everywhere. I bring them everywhere. I try again, but
It's a good look. It's a good look.
It's a good look.
I look like I read. But
Yeah, gotta
unless
look
it's
the part.
work related, not doing it.
So you're doing audiobooks then, sounds like, if you're going to do a book. Yeah. All right. So that's a cool fact. I love it. First time on CPG Vibes having that fact. So congratulations. All right. So when we have Jules Gorham with CHFA, welcome. Same questions to you.
Same questions to me. Okay, so I'm Jules. We figured that out. I work at the Canadian Health Food Association. We've also solidified that tidbit. What do I do? I work with Sonia. I have the honor of working with Sonia. I've been one of the, I'll say, spearheading the SOS campaign, which we'll get into later, probably since I joined CHFA for the past 2 years at least. And yeah, I also very proudly represent all of our Quebec members here at CHFA. I am the token bilingual Quebecer. If you're from Canada, you understand what I mean. But I'm from La Belle Province. This is where I work and live and play, and I love it. So I get the honor of also representing all of our Quebec members, French-speaking members here at CHFA. And yeah, it's the best part of my job. So love it. And one thing that people don't know about me, for all the time that I've spent on this campaign and working with government, I'm a trade school girl and proud of it as well. I love the trades, and I'm actually, I have no clue what I'm doing here. Sonia found me on the street and took me in, but I'm a proud trade school girl, and most people don't know that because most people in my position come from a very different educational background.
Cool. Right on. We love the shirt too. For those that are listening after the fact on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Jules has a CHFA shirt on, a gray shirt with a black coat blazer. Like a blazer, right? That's the right word.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dressed up. I
dressed up. You dressed up for the show.
Got to bring some class to the show.
Have to.
Somebody does.
Mean weight or slob. So we need to class up the show. Yeah, you're right. So Robert. So everyone knows you. You've sponsored many episodes. You've been on many episodes. But we're going to start from scratch for the 2 or 3 people out of all the people here that don't know who you are. Tell us about you. Tell us what you do, and one thing about you that we do not know.
That's a tough one because in about 30 minutes after meeting me, people usually know.
They know everything about you.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, for the few people that don't know yet, or some that do know but don't know everything, I am a Canadian and US based import exporter. And what I do is that term last mile, where it refers to the last from port to warehouse for a shipment. I do the first half of the job. I get products into independence. I get them in compliance and in the right direction to pass over to guys like Steve, who we're going to meet in the second half, and get them into the D2C, the B2B channels, whatever the right channel is. From the real estate background, I've learned, don't make decisions, let the market tell you where to go. So I do very painstaking work, piece by piece, case by case at the beginning. And what it leads to is hopefully national distribution in whatever channel, mass retail, D2C, food service. And that's what Powerful Energy does with US, Michigan, and Ontario base.
Well said.
Great.
I love it. All right. So, there's no script, just chat for this show, but there are a couple kind of topics that we want to at least turn to with 2 great individuals from CHFA. So how is CHFA really supporting, I guess, the community, right? The CPG community? What have you done in the past? What are you doing in the present? And then tell us more about the show, because there's a lot of brands here that are based in the U.S. There's some in Canada, but a lot are in the U.S., right, that tune in. They may want to get more involved with the CHFA and the community. So what do you guys do for the community? And tell us more about how brands that are in the U.S. can get involved.
Yeah, sure. Good question. So I'll take that one. And I'll actually walk it back to finish with the shows because we can go into a little bit more detail there. We have a big community. We're over 1,000 members strong of different brands, different companies from the natural, organic, and wellness industry. So we've kind of made that into the now industry to help us write that in a quicker way. But yeah, over 1,000 members strong, almost 61 years. CHFA has been around.
Wow.
Started as, grassroots health food pioneers in the space, and has grown into being what it is, which is, Canada's largest trade association dedicated to everything within the now space. I think what's very unique about CHFA is that we cover everything. So from your corner store, mom and pop health food store to, major grocery chains, everything in between, from micro startup companies who really going to the show is their first step onto, the market, to big brands who have been around forever, and everything in between: brokers, distributors, suppliers, raw ingredient suppliers, packagers, you name it. Everyone has a home here at CHFA, what makes us very unique. And in all of that, we offer a lot of knowledge to those different companies. There's, reports twice a year or 3 times a year. We offer these massive reports on consumer trends, what people are looking for, what's happening in the space. Our Knowledge Weekly email is like taking the best out of the media every single week, putting it in one email so people can follow what's happening in the world of everything that's natural, organic, and wellness. So there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of content. Small companies who don't have big media teams, who can't follow everything, we're there to be that resource for them in every sense of the word. Advocacy. Sonia and I are here. We've worked on the SOS campaign. We're both in regulatory affairs. We do all things advocacy. So we take great pride and put in a lot of effort and work to be the voice of the industry in Ottawa, which is Canada's capital, where all the decisions are made on a federal level. So we do a lot of advocacy work. SOS campaign we'll get into, but that's been a major, major grassroots campaign for the past 2 years. Another part of CHFA, can't, forget the community that exists. It really is a community hub. It's like we're an association and we have all these members, and somehow all of these members are perhaps competitors, but they're also friends. They party together. They show up at the same places together. They speak to each other. They just exist in this world that is everybody of who's who, but who wants to be who wants to meet who nobody knows and comes in. It's like Cheers, and it's an amazing place. And then we have, like you said, our trade shows. So we have 2 trade shows: CHFA Now Vancouver, which is happening in 2 weeks, crunch time, and CHFA Now Toronto, which happens at the end of September. So we try and go west and east.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah.
So when looking at the 2 trade shows, right, for the kind of east, let's call it east and west, right, Toronto and Vancouver, which one was the first one, and which one is the bigger show, or how do they trend?
I don't know which one was the first one. I wasn't born when that would have happened. Not to give away
61 years, right?
But I wasn't there. I was not invited. But I would say that they're both massive. I mean, it's walking into them, you feel it. Obviously, we're not in the States. I can imagine that massive in Canada's perception for a Canadian. But Toronto is the bigger one. Toronto is just the business center of Canada. It's just where everything is. Yeah. And it's also location. And people from Canada West are going to yell at the screen for me saying this. Toronto, kind of everyone can get to. It's not in the middle because it's not the prairies, but it kind of is. Whereas Vancouver is completely on the West Coast. So it's a big country. So someone coming out from Nova Scotia, I mean, you're 7 hours on a plane if you got to bring all of your product and everything. So Toronto's just bigger by the space where it lives.
And Jules, what is attendance? Do you have all in, not just booths and exhibits, but when you talk about attendees and
overall attendees, Vancouver, I think we're looking at just shy of 7,000 for it's a 2-day trade show, and there's a Friday conference, so that plays into our knowledge, wanting to be thought leadership. There's over 30 conferences on the Friday before the shows, so overall there's 7,000 and through Vancouver, and anywhere from 8 to 9 in Toronto.
Fantastic. And I know, Sonia, we want to talk about SOS, which is Save Our Supplements, and that campaign. I'm not sure, Jules, Sonia, who's talking about it, but give us the overview, what you're working on, and educate us, please.
Oh my goodness. So we actually kicked off Save Our Supplements. This is Jules giggles because I think she was tricked into working here. She just applied on a whim and we were like, we have no idea what we're doing right now, but we're going to go for it. So she applied as a foodie. That was her line that got me.
Literally.
Don't we all? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That was literally my email. Yeah.
And we're all foodies in this industry, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, she gets it. So we kicked off Save Our Supplements campaign just because the government of Canada is bringing in new rules, and usually new rules means a lot of change and hefty fees. And I think the fees is really what gets us the most, but it is going to drive up costs for natural health products in Canada. So your equivalent of dietary supplements, and our products range, like they could be, traditional Chinese medicines here, homeopathics, deodorant, toothpaste, like there's a huge range when it comes to this line. And so, the policies that they've created are designed honestly for pharmaceuticals. And so it's very difficult for our industry to conform to this tight of, rules and standards. So what we're talking about is a new $50 million cost recovery scheme that is really going to be very disproportionate in terms of how it hurts small business. We're talking about new labeling laws. We've got a new kind of enforcement law that is up to $5 million fines per day, in which our industry used to be subject to $5,000 fines. So just a lot of change at once, I would say, and very damaging change, where you'll see, fewer choices, higher prices, job losses. So we've been fighting really hard. It's a very grassroots movement. So we're working with, very tightly with manufacturers, with retailers, practitioners, consumers. We're all just coming together to say this is enough. And, we're calling on government to build a framework that respects the unique nature of natural health products. And honestly, we're not asking for special treatment. It's really about fair, smart regulation for products that over 30 million people use every day.
I'm looking at the website here, which is, for those that are listening, chfa.ca/advocacy. You can basically just you can just Google Save Our Supplements CHFA. Yep, and there it is right there.
There.
Copy and paste it from the comments. And so some staggering statistics here when looking at it. 80% of Canadians use natural health products like vitamins, minerals, toothpaste, sunscreen, deodorant as part of their proactive health and well-being. 75%, this is the key one. And this is the running conversation right in the last couple of weeks with American companies that are sourcing from Asia, let's say,
right,
with the current events that are happening, where they might not be able to stay in business because the costs are too high to distribute and pay for it. 75% of brands say there's a very high, very high chance they will need to pull product from the market as a result of these regulations. 1 out of 5 companies say they're seriously considering leaving the Canadian market. So I want to just go back to what you were saying. So this was a I just want to fully understand it, and also for our viewers. Was this a regulation that hit pharma and then supplements got pulled into it? Is my first question. And then the second is, how are these brands paying the higher price? Is it to manufacture it? Is it through taxes? Like, tell us again how that works and how it's hitting the brands.
Sure. So first I'll say it's a number of changes. It's not just one. So there wasn't just one thing we could fight, which was very complicated for us because trying to explain this to people is complex. Like we wrap it all together as overregulation. But when it comes down to it, it's a number of changes that they made in legislation. So like in the actual laws themselves, in regulation, like they've done all kinds of changes, and they've done a lot of it under the rug in a sense, very quietly overnight. So for example, for us, like in Canada, through Parliament, we'll have big budget bills. So they changed the definition of a natural health product to a therapeutic product literally overnight with no consultation. So this was very jarring because now all of a sudden you're subject to rules by changing definition. that are extremely hefty. It's made for companies that have copyright and, patent protections. And you're looking at very small margin companies that have to compete, can't, copyright or patent their ingredients. And, all of a sudden you're looking at, these kinds of changes, these massive changes. I mean, the labeling changes were mimicking, over the counter changes, like drug changes. The cost recovery, the fees that they're trying to charge, it's mimicking the drug fees. So the cost, the way.
Sorry to interrupt. When you say cost
course.
recovery fees, how are the brands being charged for that? Like what form and how does it work?
Exactly. So what it is a number of fees. Like, it's not just one. It's like, if you want to bring a product to Canada and you need to get it approved, which is unlike the States. Like, in the States, you can go to market, right? You don't need to have Health Canada review all of your documentation and approve it. So it's very lengthy. It can take years to get a product to market here. So essentially, they charge for that review. They charge for you just to have it on the market yearly, like a right to sell fee. And then they also have fees for the companies themselves that make the products, or if you import products, like a site fee. So there's 3 fees essentially, and when they're combined, I mean, we're looking at up to 500,000 for per year for a pretty standard company, like for a regular company. Yeah.
$500,000 a year.
$500,000 per year. That's not made up. Like, that is a pretty average number for a
This would
small
be a
business.
good time, Sonia, sorry to interject, but this would be a good time to sort of bring it down to our understanding. The things that Sonia is mentioning, like site fees, these are a fee that you would have to pay to get a license to actually just package pharmaceuticals or supplemented products. No different than having a license to package food in your facility. And that is an example of what she just referred to as, it's like double, triple, quadruple fees. But one thing I wanted to mention, Alex, that's right in front of our face, the Melting Forest label compliance move right now. Eco Ideas just did their review. And I asked TC, why are we doing the NPN thing? 15,000, and he has to look into what it's going to cost for the other 7 SKUs. So that's an example of what applying for the NPN and the cost recovery, Sonia. That means they want to get the money back for all the time they spend.
Exactly.
Working on all this stuff.
How about like drinks? Like, I know we're going to bring on other 2 guests in a few minutes here, but how about like drinks that are supplement, right? Like they have enough functional ingredients where when you turn the can, like Wade, the brand you're working with, Lilo,
right?
Lalo, the kava root, I saw it at Sprouts. I turned it around. It's a supplement. Like it says supplement facts. How about those brands that are like a beverage that are supplement?
So
did they get pulled into that?
No. So typically supplemented foods, like beverages, will usually fall into a supplemented foods category if it's over, like, basically a shot. Shot size is, if it has claims like health claims like boost energy, etc., it'll be a natural health product. But otherwise it is a supplemented food, but it's very limited in category as to what ingredients is limited, and in terms of what claims you can make is limited. So it wouldn't fall into this because it's a different classification of product.
Gotcha. So like, how about wellness shots like the Dose or Vive or all those guys? They're making claims that boost your immunity. Are they considered supplement, or are they considered
foods.
A food? Okay, so those are foods.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
So I mean, last question I have on this SOS is, what has the progress been in appealing this, and is the government showing any signs of adjusting these regulations?
So, I mean, we've had a lot of success.
We both laughed.
Not quite.
I'm like wondering, what did I say? What did I say to make them laugh?
They have the patience of infinity. Okay. Like, they will wait. I mean, sometimes
slow.
they wait for 20 years and they bring this stuff back up. So,
It's the government.
It's the government. But in the immediate, I mean, they have adjusted some of the labeling and the labeling laws. They've reopened discussions. I think public pressure has helped us with that. In terms of cost recovery, I mean, it sounds like they still want to go ahead. We're in an election period right now, so that puts things a bit on pause. So it's a question mark. What will happen, when we get a new prime minister and a new, I know this isn't a political show, but are we going to be faced with a different political party? We have no idea. And so it's all, dependent, but we have seen, we have had support from parliamentarians or members of parliament here to help peel back some of what's happened and, push back on what's happened. And that fell flat because of elections again. So there's a lot of work that's been done, a lot of progress that's been made, but because of elections, I would say that things have definitely changed very quickly and could continue to change when we have a new prime minister and a new party potentially.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna give a win though, because industry really, really got behind us, and Canadians over
100%.
like millions of postcards sent to different members of parliament here in Canada. But I will give everybody a win, because originally the cost recovery program that they were wanting to push through was going to cost recover $100 million a year. It's basically to job security. It's to cover their jobs, their salaries. That originally was looking at $100 million a year. And because of the SOS campaign and other associations that got behind and supported and fought, and Canadians and CHFA members who rolled up their sleeves, it's now $50 million a year. So we got it halved because they had to take out the part that was for future and not current costs. Exactly. That was a legal thing that we put a spotlight on. But yeah, so it's still $50 million a year that they're planning to recover. And to Sonia's point, we're in an election, so we don't know. It's paused right now because it's election time, but what's going to happen and after the election, 30, 60, 90 days out, 20 years from now, I mean, that's what we were fighting for, is the future proof. And now we have an election, so we'll see how we deal with that after.
When is the election, and would a new prime minister come in? Or
Canadians go to the polls on April 28th. Advanced voting is open. Go vote, Canada. We go to the polls at the end of April. So then, as soon as everything's counted up and checked and balanced, we'll have a new prime minister by the end of the month.
So it's a very, very big election.
Take office immediately then? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's different from the U.S. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no party. They literally drag him into parliament, and he's pretending to be kicking and screaming, and then they drop the hammer thing and
lock the door.
Switch the calendar, and we're open. Canada's open for business. Yeah.
Wow. So literally after they're celebrating for their win with the family the night before, the next morning, they're in.
Get to work. Get to work. You're paid by taxpayer money. Get to work.
It takes a little bit of time.
Start working.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time to put out mandate letters, so we don't necessarily know what exactly their top priorities for each minister is going to be, but those come pretty shortly after. So
and Prime Minister has to build his cabinet, who is going to be on who's the cabinet. Like, it's a different process from the States, 100%. But they try and get to work as soon as possible, because Canadians are like, we pay you. Do something. Yeah.
Right.
We pay you a lot.
We pay you a lot.
Taxes are higher there, for sure. Yep. All right. Well, so Sonia, Jules, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to flip over to our next two guests, but we're praying for you guys that everything works out and we can cut these costs down, hopefully, to allow small businesses to flourish in Canada. So thank you for sharing everything and getting us just some information about what's going on, because we didn't know that. We didn't know that.
Thanks for having us, and hope to see everybody at CHFA now in 2 weeks in Vancouver.
Definitely.
Great show.
Thank you.
Go to the website, chfa.ca, to find out more information about the show coming up in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, ladies. All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks,
Sonia. Thanks, Jules.
And let's go to this. All right, there were faces where that's way too big.
Terrible.
For us.
That's terrible.
Yeah, really.
Zooming in on our
on FaceTime when you see yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It's too big. You can see up our nostrils. All right, so, and it's really interesting. We're going to bring on our next two guests, but one thing I'll mention as I talk to a friend, you don't really know how it affects you personally if you're not, actually trading internationally. But I'll just say this, again, not a political show, but just like one of my friends, very good friends of for 30 years. And he runs a brand where they make video game accessories, and they have looked all over the globe, and they need to make it in China. Like they have the molds there, they have the technology there. And so it is, I think his next shipment is $250,000. He's paying $250,000 for his next shipment, and he has to pay 125% tariff. So he's going to be paying like $300,000 for $250,000 worth of product. So it kind of hits you on another level, when you know people that are going through it personally. So that was my kind of wake up call there. So, all right. So our next two guests, we have on, in no particular order, is Steve Dontigny. He is the founder of the Forge CPG, and he handles the full vertical production to shelf for emerging, from production to shelf for emerging CPG brands. And also, Robert, you collaborate with Steve on some projects leveraging each other's strengths for the respective partners. And you recently concluded a term with Cove Soda. Steve has expertise for the Canada to US path. And then we have Megan Silk, the co-founder of GingerBug. And I looked up this product. It looks very interesting, very cool. It's a wild fermented ginger beverage, so in that kind of prebiotic space. They're a homebrewed ginger. Let me restart this. The homebrewed GingerBug sold out at weekend markets, and they knew they were onto something big. They pivoted and put everything they had into building a GingerBug and building GingerBug as a business. Sorry. From our beginnings in farmers markets, small local retailers, they are now popping up in national grocery chains. It's been a wild ride. So welcome to our show, Steve and Megan. Thanks for being patient with us.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Yep, thanks for having me.
So good to have you both on. And this is a cool episode because we're getting information on CHFA, on what's going on with the government, the regulations, and now we're kind of going down to more of the retail and market level, right, with a brand that's based in Canada, and then an individual, Steve, that helps brands emerge, grow, and get into the market. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with our first two guests, just a quick introduction about yourselves, and then one thing that we do not know about you, and we're going to start with Steve.
Okay, I'm Steve Dontigny. I started the Forge kind of quietly about a year ago, just before joining Cove. I've been in operations all my life. My parents were entrepreneurs. I actually started a soft body armor company with what parents did. So I grew up in manufacturing. So I'm in the dirty side of brands. I'm the one who makes the cogs work and answers to the CFO, the CEO, and the CEO. And Cove was a really big learning experience. You know, they went from about 500 stores to 7,000 stores in a year. And there wasn't a real good resource to help all of us get there. And then it's just kind of snowballed into, there's a lot of people who need to know what I know. And one of the clients we just signed on last week said, "Hey, Steve, what you taught us in a day would probably taken us a year to figure out." And then we realized we're into something. The one thing that most people don't know about me is I competed on the long drive tour for 3 years.
Nice.
Oh, say that again. The long drive, you said?
Yep. Long
Like
drive
golf.
tour for golf. Yeah.
Nice. Speaking my language. Love it. How far is your drive?
My longest on record was 404.
Wow.
Holy. Can you teach me, please?
You got some work to do, Alex.
Come out here. I'll take you to a course. Teach me. Like, I want to channel that energy. You're like the Canadian Bryson DeChambeau, basically.
Well, that was many years ago. But yeah, yeah, that was about 20 years ago that I competed. But
Hopefully
yeah.
no back surgeries, because you really have to twist to get that kind of power.
No, my body's healthy. I think I quit doing it at the right time.
There you go. Very smart man. Megan, welcome to our show. And I truthfully, I don't know if it's available in the US, but I have not tried your product, but it sounds delicious. Tell us more about you, the product, and again, one thing that we do not know about you. And welcome to our show, by the way.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so our product, so we produce a line of gut healthy prebiotic soda pop that are ginger based. And the product was founded on our family farm. We're been in business just over 2 years. So we're still an emerging brand. We're only available in Canada right now. It's been a very steep learning curve, which leads me to the thing that most people don't know about me, is that I've spent most of my career as a proud stay-at-home mom to 5 kids and have very limited business experience. So this has been a real adventure being a first-time CPG founder, but I'm really enjoying it and taking it one day at a time.
And Megan, how long has the product been around?
Just over 2 years.
Just over 2 years. And correct me if I'm wrong, you appeared on the show Dragon's Den, correct?
Yes, we did. Yes.
Okay, so you share a little bit with our audience about that experience, because that, for those that don't know, Dragon's Den is the Canadian equivalent to Shark Tank. So talk a little bit about that experience, if you would.
Yeah, for sure. It was a fantastic experience. We just sent in a video pitch and then auditioned. And quite honestly, we were so strung out at the time. We'd only been in business for a couple of months, so our audition didn't go well, or so we thought. But we did get the call to go and pitch on the show. And we ended up getting 2 competing offers for exactly what we came into the den for. So it was absolutely fantastic. And it really catapulted the brand and helped us establish some strong relationships with the Canadian media, which was pretty awesome for such a young business at the time. I think by the time the show aired, we were less than a year old, so it was great timing.
Fantastic.
Wow. So who were the dragons that were on your show? And then I know there's Arlene Dickinson, who's been on the show here and there. Was she one of the dragons or not during your episode?
Yeah, she was actually. So we ended up receiving 2 competing offers, one from Manjeet and one from Arlene. And it was a really difficult decision, but at the time we were just such a new product. And, Manjeet has all these manufacturing facilities, and we weren't really ready for that scale. What we needed more was for somebody to, hold our hand during the R&D stage and just really launch us into market. So we thought that Arlene would be a better fit. And truthfully, the deal didn't end up going through, but there were so many amazing spinoffs from the experience. And, Arlene and Manjeet, they both said really nice things about us on national television. So I had a chance to thank Arlene several times for that in person. And we really appreciated it. And we still talk to Arlene. And when the time is right, we hope that we'll be able to work together.
Cool. I have one more quick follow-up. I don't want to make this all about Dragon's Den, but obviously we're fascinated with this. And then we're going to pivot back to Steve here, who's been super patient. So is it similar to Shark Tank where like you're on there and they tape it for like over an hour and then they only air like 10 minutes? Is it a very similar process to the brands that go through it on Shark Tank?
Yeah, totally. So we were in there for about an hour and 15 minutes, and then they end up only airing about 7 minutes of it. And so
Wow. Such a small kind of like such a large appearance. Wow. Okay.
They'll take pieces of, one time Arlene said something very teary about me as a mother, and then they took that part where I was sort of tearing up and made it look like I was really nervous about what was going to happen on the show. And, they moved it all around. It's television, right? It's got to be entertaining. So we were cool with it. It was funny to see how it all came together.
Yeah. So awesome stuff. I'm the pivot to a question with Steve, but I want to mention also that with the contract, at least for Shark Tank, and I'm sure it's similar for Dragon's Den, that when you sign it, they said that they can take any edits from the show and move it anywhere in the episode. So if you react to what someone is saying, they can take that reaction and copy and paste or cut and paste it to something else that they said. So it's very made for TV type of show. So congratulations on that, and happy that you're finding success. So Steve, so as far as, I know you focus on the supply chain side and co-packers. I'm curious, like how many co-packers are there in Canada versus other countries? And now with a lot of things going on, are you really pushing for more like making it in Canada? Like what's been kind of your repositioning based on some of the macroeconomic? And again, I want to be clear here. I want to be clear that right now, and Robert, you posted this, that there is not a tariff. It was USMC compliant. So United States,
agreement,
Mexico,
NAFTA, called USMC right now. So if you have a compliant product, there's no tariff going into the US. Still confusing coming into Canada, though.
Yeah, coming into Canada. So I guess just in preparation, are you doing anything differently with your brands, advising them to operate in a certain way, to as far as manufacturing, co-packing, sourcing? Like what have you done to adjust your supply chain with your brands? Or are you just kind of waiting out to see what happens before? No, you're not. Okay. Tell us what you're doing proactively with your brands in response to what's been happening in the news.
Yeah. So first part of that question, there's probably about 50 solid co-mans in Canada. In the States, it's probably, a few thousand solid ones. They all have their own niche that they're in. Some are organic certified, some do solids, some do tunnel pasteurization, some do flash. They all have their own different nuances that they work on. We're seeing a lot of clients looking at both sides of it. We have American clients reaching out saying, hey, we want to be at a co-man in Canada. We don't want to be doing this in the States and shipping across. As everybody knows, shipping water in any product is expensive. So producing it closer to where your biggest markets are, like where Robert is a great great asset to your company. So there's a lot of American companies reaching out for co-mans in Canada. There's co-mans. Everybody in Canada is trying to figure out how to do it in the States. That's kind of what started the Forge. When I was with Cove, we reached out. We knew I had followed Trump's. What a lot of people don't realize is when his first term, he actually added a 10% tariff in his first term. Like this wasn't a surprise. So one of the things with
for
Cove,
Canada coming into the U.S.
But for aluminum, right, Steve?
Yeah, exactly. So he hit tariffs the first time. And he also said it in his campaign that was something he was going to do. So with Cove going from, like I said earlier, from like basically 500 stores to 7,000 stores in such a short period of time, we started that ball rolling 6-7 months ago, and secured 2 co-mans in the States. So that Cove can do Canadian production for Canada and US for the US. And we're seeing that a lot still now. A lot of companies want to be set up on both sides of the border. And it works out better for cost.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I won't name the companies in the United States, but I think you'll know this company is like when we were making Genius Juice, we first made it here. It was very confusing. We made it here in a commissary, then we made it here in the U.S. at a co-packer, then we made it at another co-packer, then we made it in Thailand, and then we also were doing it at the same time here during the pandemic when it took too long to come from Thailand to here. It took like 6 months, so we had to have some product here to bottle it here, and it was more expensive. So what I'm getting at is functional beverage, low acid, almond milk, coconut milk, whatever, cashew milk, all these, alternative dairy brands. I'm hearing now that they are making it in Canada, and there's more reliable co-packers in parts of Canada. And one that I keep hearing is I think it's called Yaya. And I'm hearing about brands that are just moving in droves, despite what's happening in the macroeconomic environment. And they go to this co-packer. So, like, have you ever worked with them? Have you met with them? I'm just curious.
I just signed the MNDA yesterday with Yaya. So
you can't say anything about it. You can't even talk about it.
And by the way, Alex, that's the theme of like my whole vibe here. You got to surround yourself with people smarter than you. Yes. And I have been digging in the trenches with my organic contacts, Eco Ideas, great relationship, great company. I have, for every co-packer I know, Steve knows 39.
Wow.
And then there's Megan. And this is what I really want Megan to share a couple of the things, because, man, the way that Megan, that you have went from the local stores and then dealt with the Fortinos and then dealt with Whole Foods across Canada, I have just been slammed against those brick walls with dozens of brands, and you got to refuse to lose and keep going. And you are way too humble, Megan, because the fact that you're in the 40 Fortinos and the Whole Foods across the country, what was that experience like? And maintaining.
You're so kind to me, Robert. You're so kind. You know what? It was a great experience. And like I say to other brands that I meet, start at home, right? So that was our strategy. Is I actually sent an email very nervously to the 3 retailers who sold our farm produce when we were farmers, and they did so basically because I spent a lot of money on pies at their store, and I think out of pity a little bit. But I picked up the phone and I called them and I said, I've got a drink now, will you take it? So those 3 retailers took our drink, and then because they did and they were so well respected, within 2 or 3 weeks we had almost 40 retailers in our region. And because they took us, it was sort of a ripple effect. And we just stacked literally every single opportunity that we possibly could on top of one another. And then that's how the brand was built so quickly.
Awesome. Nice. How many SKUs do you have for GingerBug?
We just have 3. We have 3 that are released right now, and we have 4 more that are in the works.
Right on. Awesome. 4 more. Okay. And what's the top seller?
You know what? The data is still coming in, but I think that our dry, which is our lowest sugar option, is probably proving to be the category leader right now in terms of our 3 SKUs.
Gotcha. Okay. So right now you're distributed basically across Canada. Is there any plans to come to the US?
Yeah, we want to. We've got a lot more work to do right here. But that's obviously, it's a topic around here all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of just the norm, right? You firmly plant your roots in Canada, and eventually, once you have the distribution you want, you start breaking into the U.S. So good stuff, and I'm sure Steve has done this many, many, many times. And I want to find out more about Yaya, but I can't, so it's unfortunate. So, all right, well, we're going to go to our prize here. So we want to make sure we end on time because some people have hard stops at 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock Eastern. So again, our episode is sponsored by the gentleman in the upper right corner, Robert Cogan, with Powerful Energy Distribution. And for those that don't know what he does, I think everyone does, but I'll say it anyway because I want to and we need to. They're a binational company that handles imports, exports for commodity brands, emerging specialty brands. Their expertise is eliminating the real and invisible barriers to the 40 million Canadian market. And he's met a lot of brands through this community, through CPG Vibes, that have signed on with him and are now distributing. I mean, I get texts, and also I see on LinkedIn where, you know, I refer him to a brand, and then a few weeks later, he sends me a photo of a pallet of that brand in his warehouse. He's like, I'm going to Vincenzo's and here. He's like, you know, I'm like, holy crap, it's in 100 stores already in 1 month. This guy works so fast. So,
and Alex, you know, I want to pay homage to you and Wade, because
Megan
and I wouldn't have connected unless I had been working through your vehicle on LinkedIn. Same thing with Steve. And there's Melting Forest staring us on the screen. They're going to be at CHFA West, and you and I, we helped each other. I mean, you and Wade participating with Melting Forest was definitely a leverage for me. Steve, I've been watching you do the Cove stuff for the last year or so, just like knowing I gotta, and this guest lineup is a prime example of get people around you that are better than you in certain things. Mm-hmm. And if Megan and Steve ever say one day that I said something smart that they think was good, I'll be very happy.
We can hope that happens. We can hope that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you know, you go with a great team. That's such a fundamental thing in this business, you know, and can't control everything. You can't do everything. You need the right partners. And hopefully I'm glad you're finding them here through the show. That's what me and Wade do. And that's what we love, is to connect people and they can benefit off the relationship. So with all that said, we're going to go to our prize. And I have a little fancy graphic here, but it's a little bit old school. Here it goes.
Friday freebies.
That's from my old podcast, by the way. So that's from the one. That's from 15 Minutes of Genius, which still has the genius head on there.
Which I followed you for a long time, and I was remiss to mention that earlier. But when we were building our brand, I learned all about you. I've seen all your stuff, your Shark Tank and everything.
See?
Thank you. That means a lot.
We're already playing in the same league.
100%. Megan, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. So with all that said, so the prize, speaking of Megan, is going to be a mixed case of the GingerBug prebiotic gut healthy drink. Did I get that right? Okay.
Got it.
And there's 3 SKUs, and it's going to be a 12-can variety pack. So it's going to be 4 of each SKU. And what are those flavors, Megan?
We've got our dry, which is really low sugar, a spicy, and our smooth, our original. Yeah.
That's so I love that. It's like fascinating where it's not flavors, it's just different compositions, different texture, different experience for the 3.
Trying to keep everybody happy, all the ginger beer drinkers happy.
Yeah, and ginger beer is just awesome. You can't go wrong with that. It's just a well-loved product. So, all right. So with all that said, we're going to come up with a trivia question, which is something that we mentioned somewhere in this episode. And I have the question because it's suiting to the fact that we talked about it a couple times. All right. So here is the question to win a 12-pack of cans of the mixed case of GingerBugs. The question is, what is the co-packer that me and Steve were talking about? The one that's based in Canada. It's a little bit hard because the word is
hard. That's really hard.
It's not a normal word. It's a weird sounding word.
But then again, it is.
Yeah.
It will be so easy to give a hint in the next 20 seconds if I'm looking at the chat here. New comments.
We want to stump them. You know, they got to work hard for this one.
Well, as the British say, can't you figure it out? Yeah. You know what I'm
There it
saying?
is.
Oh,
There we go. Look at Adriano. That's
I
what it
think
shows on my phone.
I think that's Adriano.
Yes.
Oh, yes. But no, it's
So,
Jeff.
and then
Jeff
I'm going to offer a free prize to the host. Okay, we'll take it. Co-hosts, you mean? Two of us. So Jeff Lakovsky got it. It's Yaya, and that's how it's spelled, right? You can disclose that, right, Steve?
Yep, that's what it is. Yes, sir.
Okay. So Jeff is our winner. Make sure to email cpgvibes100@gmail.com. And again, I like to first just commend is a good word, by the way. People like, is that a good word? It is a great word. Commend our guests, right? So we have Megan Silk with the co-founder of GingerBugs. We have Steve Dontigny with the Ford CPG. And they exited the show about 20 minutes ago, Sonia Parmar and Jules Gorham with CHFA. And Robert, just also a big thank you to you for envisioning the show, organizing it, all the back and forth to get this all exactly where we wanted it. And thank you, brother, for all your hard work to make this happen and for just being part of our community. So appreciate you. Thank you.
Likewise, brothers.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. All right. So we'll see you next week. And it's going to be the April 18th show. Again, 10 a.m., 1 p.m. Eastern special time. And it's going to be just us two. And with the sponsor, Kif & Co. Until then, everyone have a wonderful weekend and take care, everyone.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, guys.
thank you.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.